Hi guys, and welcome to another Bootstrap 4 video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignertechtips.com. Well, in our last video, we created this mouse over color change effect for our nav bar here. We're going to continue on with a bit of animation and styling here. What if we want this logo that we've got rotating here, when we load the page, perhaps to slide in from the left hand side and end up there? We can do it kind of like we did with the rotation here using keyframes and CSS. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm using Chrome here. I'm going to right click on our little logo up there and you can see it rotating. I want the navbar brand, which is the actual div that it's in. What's the anchor tag? But that's the class, the navbar brand. So I need to target it and say when the page loads, you want to start off over here and come over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to open my Brackets software. Brackets is a free text editor. You can download it from a link below this video, and it's great. It's got some fantastic features. I use it all the time with Bootstrap. Okay, so let's make a little space and target that navbar brand element. So it's dot because it was a class. It was navbar dash brand. And open and close some curly brackets. There we go. If we look back at the site, just to reinforce what I was saying there, I'll inspect it again. There's our class. The class name is navbar brand. So any CSS we put in those curly brackets is going to target the navbar brand. Right, so how do we get it moving? Well, it's not difficult actually. It's just a bit of simple CSS. So let's go through it. Now, because we want it to move, the first thing we've got to do is give it a position, so it knows where to move from, and we'll say relative rather than fixed or anything else. And put a semicolon after that. Okay, now we're going to want to animate it, so let's say animation, and to define the animation we've got to give it a name, so we'll say animation dash name. So we'll give it a name. You want to give it a unique name, anything you want. I'm going to call mine SL1 slide 1 because it's going to slide in, I guess. SL1 semicolon. And once we decide what it wants to do, how long do we want it to take to do it? So we need to give it an animation duration. Dash duration. I want to spell it right. Thankfully, brackets, if you make an error in your code, it'll highlight it red there, which is a great little feature actually. Saves a lot of debugging if it points it out to you while you're doing it. So how long do we want? Well, let's give it 4 seconds. I mean, it's kind of long. You can give yours what you want, but it should give me time to sort of explain while things are happening. So we'll say 4 seconds. So now we've targeted the navbar brand. We've told it it can move with a relative. We've given the animation that we're going to create a name, SL1. And we've told it how long we want it to take to perform that animation. Now for the animation itself, we're going to use something like we've used here before, the WebKit keyframe. So actually I'll just copy that. That's quite handy. So I'll copy this and I'm going to go down below that piece of code that we just wrote. And WebKit free, and I've got to put our unique name there so it knows what it's targeting, the SL1. Now let's open and close another set of curly brackets and put a bit of space in between. Now here in between is where we want to write whatever code it is or whatever it is we want it to do. And if we look back at the site, I want it when the page loads, I want that to be invisible. I want it to be off at the side there. Then during our 4-second interval that we've said, I want it to slide in and end up where it is now. So that's a position of 0. Over here would be a position of minus something. If you wanted it over here, it would be a position of plus something. So let's go back and say at the 0% mark, which is at the start when the page loads, we'll open and close some curlies. And it's a bit like media queries. You've got sets of curly brackets within a main set of curly brackets. Okay, so when it starts off, I want it to be over to the left. So we'll say left. And what do we want it to do? We want it to go minus 300 pixels. Do you think that will do it? Let's have a look. 300 pixels. I'll put a semicolon after that because I may want to make it go higher or lower by using top or bottom or right even. So you can add another attribute there if you want it to do more than one thing at a time. So I've said minus 300 pixels or pixels. That's about 100, 200, 300. So that should be off the screen. So you shouldn't see it when it loads. Okay, let's now say at 100%, that's basically at second 4, or at the 4-second when it's done 4 seconds, we'll say, I'll copy this over, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. I'm going to say 0 pixels. Remember to get rid of that minus. Well, I guess it doesn't matter for 0. Minus 0 and plus 0 is all the same, isn't it? Okay, so basically we told it when it starts, it wants to be way off the screen to the left here. And at the end, when it's 100% complete, after 4 seconds, it wants to be 0 pixels, which is exactly where it is at the moment. So let's save this and see if this actually works. Control S to save. Back to the site. Now when I refresh, hopefully this should be off the screen when it starts and it should just work its way up to there in 4 seconds. Let's try it. There you go. Like I say, 4 seconds is quite a long time. You could have that happen gradually. Of course, if you wanted it to do that from the right, if we go back to our code, just change left to right. And same thing there. And we'll save, Control S, back to the site. Now when I refresh, it should start somewhere over here and go back that way. There we go. Very easy. It's an effective little thing as well. So when you load the page, you know, your logo makes people look at your logo, that's for sure, as well as rotating it. But of course, if you've got a brand name or some letters, you don't want it rotating like that with a name going round and round. That'd be a little bit too much. Okay, well, let's take this a little bit further and perhaps make it a little bit more interesting. How about if we have it slide in and sort of bounce a little bit? Sort of meow, boing, 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 something like that. And I'm sure a lot of you figured that out already, how you can do that, but I'll go through it anyway. So let's just change those back to lefts. And I'm going to hit Control Z or Control Z on my keyboard just to undo what I've just done. There we go. Now I'm going to copy this. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, a dozen times. And we'll really split it up. Okay, so Control C, copy. Been talking, I can't remember if I copied that or not. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that going to do it? And let's split that up into 0%, 25%, 50%. And once it gets to 50%, I'm going to start going up in smaller percentages to make it do something different. Basically, I'm going to have it, this is when it's going to get to the position I want it. And once it gets there, this is when it's going to perhaps bounce a little bit. So we'll say 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, and I'm sure you know what comes next, 85, 90, I think I might add one more, so we've got a 95 in there. Like I say, don't just follow what I'm doing here, have a play around, and you can get some pretty stunning effects going. So let's say, okay, we want it to start off at there. So if we got minus 300, minus 200, 0. Try that, see what happens here. We make that go past the mark where we had it. Let's say, make that plus 200 instead of minus 200 and see what happens. We're just going to have a bit of fun here and see what goes on. We'll make that 0. So it should go from minus 300 to plus 200 and back to 0. Whoops, didn't mean to click there, doesn't matter. Back to 0. Now what do we want it to do? Let's make it just go back and forth a little bit. So we'll do, let's say, do we want to make it a minus or a plus value? Do we want it bouncing back that way or this way? Well, let's just put it plus values for the time being. We can always change it to 0. So let's go, say, 25, then back to 0. And let's say 20. Don't know if that's going to be enough. Why not? Making it sort of wind down like a bouncing ball. And we'll make this one 15, I guess. And then 0 again. And make this one 10. I'm sure you're way ahead of me by now, but I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so I'm just imagining, trying to imagine what it's going to do. And this one will be 5 pixels, and the last one will be 0 pixels. So it should go minus 300 off the screen to past its normal position, plus 200 past its normal position, so over here somewhere, back to 0 is normal position. Then it should go to 25, 0, 20, 0, 15, 0, 10, 0, 5, 0, and stop at 0. In theory. No, it should do. It should do. Let's save that and see what happens. Control S, back to the site, and refresh and see what happens here. There you go. It's sort of got that little bouncing effect business. It's a little bit too much probably, but there you are. You get the idea. I think what's going on here? Let's see. I really want it to go bunk and then bunk, dunk, dunk, dunk. One of them's taking a bit too long. Let's go back and have a quick look at the code. So there we are, 50, 200. Oh, 652%. That's probably not correct there, is it? Let's just save that and have another look. There's a little, I wonder why there was a little stagger, a little hitch in its giddy up there, or whatever you call it. Hitching his gid along. Okay, let's try that again. There you go, something like that. And like I say, don't just do what I'm doing here, or you're welcome to do that, but experiment, have a bit of fun with it. And perhaps you want it to come down from the top. Real simple change. Let's do that, shall we? Let's just write top. I'm going to simply copy this and paste it over the rest of our little items here. Control C to copy. And I got two lots of colons there. Do not want that. And Control C to copy. Control V for Victor to paste. And like I say, you can have more than one. Put another one after there. I'll show you that in a sec. Okay, let's just save that. Let's just line those up so they're nice and tidy. Control S to save. Let's go back to the site and refresh now. This time it should disappear off the top of the screen, come down and then back up like that. A little bouncing ball there. There you go. So real easy to do. Like I say, you can add a second and third attribute if you want. Let's say, let's not add it on that one. Let's add it down here. We'll say right. 20 pixels. Now let's put another one in down here. I guess we'll do right 20. Now I'm just putting it after that semicolon there. So I'm going to put right 20, right 0. And let's put left 20. And then left 0 to get it back to where it was. So now it's going to come in, or we're going to come down from the top. And it's at 65, it's going to bounce, but it's going to go right by 20, then back to the middle, left 20, back to the middle. Control S to save. And this is going to be way over the top for use, but it's just demonstrating what you can do with it. There you go, it's sort of bouncing left, right. There you go, so that's probably a little more than you want on your website, but it demonstrates what you can do with that CSS. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Like I say, have fun with it, experiment with it. You can get some great effects. Quite often less is more, you know, you can just have it just drop in and do a little bounce or whatever. But that's entirely up to you. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in web development, we've got some great free courses down below. There's also some premium courses. We've got some huge discounts for our YouTube subscribers. So do take a look. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.